Joyce's story began in the early 1980s, against the backdrop of Zimbabwe's Hwange National Park. Within this majestic reserve, she wandered freely alongside her family and other elephant herds, epitomizing the essence of wild grace. Unfortunately, those idyllic days of paradise were numbered. In an effort to manage the elephant population within the park, the government embarked on a massive culling operation that would eventually span over the next 24 years. Joyce witnessed the devastating toll of this initiative, as thousands of elephants, including her own family and friends, were killed. As Joyce was next to face the imminent threat of death, a wealthy entrepreneur intervened, flying her and 62 other elephants to the distant shores of the United States, where he promised a safe haven. But the promise was quickly broken. Overwhelmed by the financial strain of housing 63 elephants, the entrepreneur sold them off one by one to circuses, zoos, and attractions across the nation, consigning each of them to lives of exploitation and captivity. Once a symbol of wild freedom, she now found herself directly under the spotlight, adorned in glittering headdresses and dazzling large audiences at the mercy of trainers wielding bullhooks. This would continue for nearly 2 decades as Joyce endured the relentless rhythm of circus life. Travel, perform, repeat. A world away from the untamed wilderness she once called home. By 2005, she could endure it no longer. Her spirit broken, she found herself shuffled between various zoos, eventually ending up at Six Flags Wild Safari Park in Jackson, New Jersey, where she remains today. Though she no longer takes the stage, she remains a captive entertainer, amusing visitors every day within a small and confined space that shares little to no resemblance to her natural habitat in Africa. Today we are joined by animal welfare expert and veterinarian Dr. Jan Schmidt-Burbach as he investigates Joyce's current habitat.
So it's really weird to be so close to roller coasters when you're about to see wild animals, but I guess that's the concept here.
With over 15 years of dedicated research experience in the field of elephant welfare, Dr. Schmidt-Burbach hopes to determine if Six Flags is a suitable home for Joyce.
I'm quite excited to see Joyce now after hearing and learning so much about her, and we're just about to get on the tour and see what her conditions are like.
Because the park has declined a request to meet with Joyce to give a proper assessment of her health and well-being, Dr. Schmidt-Burbach will instead be visiting the park today as a tourist.
So we won't be able to get close to Joyce, so I can't fully assess her properly. But we hope to be able to see her enclosure and the conditions so we get a good feeling for what conditions she's facing day to day over here at Six Flags.
The park contains approximately 1,200 wild animals from 6 different continents, ranging from the American bison and elk to the African rhino, tiger, and giraffe.
Coming up on our left will be our African elephants.
As they approach the elephant enclosure, Dr. Schmidt-Burbach looks for Joyce.
And an elephant can have up to 100,000 muscles in their trunks alone. And that allows them to pick things up as big as a tree trunk or even as small as a penny. So their trunks are really useful tools for elephants.
Which of those elephants is Joyce?
Joyce is in house right now, I think.
Separated from the other elephants, Joyce can now only be seen from a distance through the trees.
The elephant enclosure was a lot smaller than expected and quite barren as well. Very little things to do for the elephants, really.
To determine the exact size of the elephant enclosure, Dr. Schmidt-Burbach begins mapping out its exact dimensions using Google Earth.
So now the outline of the enclosure shows me that the area is roughly 3.6 acres in size for the 3 elephants.
What we learned during our visit, though, is that Joyce isn't part of those 3 elephants. We saw Joyce in what appeared to be a relatively small area beside the barn. So now I'm measuring the enclosure that we saw Joyce in, and that's about 1.1 acres. That's approximately 700,000 times less than what an African elephant would have as an annual home range in the wild.
To make matters worse, Joyce has moved into the small barn with at least 4 other elephants during the winter months, further restricting her already limited space and natural roaming behaviour.
The enclosure that Joyce is in is obviously really small, but what concerns me in addition here is the proximity to the roller coasters, and that's quite unique here to that location.
The safari park is located directly adjacent to the theme park, which is home to some of the fastest, tallest and longest roller coasters in the world. But given that elephants have the unique ability to detect vibrations through the ground, Dr. Schmidt-Burbach is concerned that the constant running of the roller coasters throughout the day may cause them stress.
We know that elephants are very sensitive to vibration. They can detect vibrations over miles. So I'm quite concerned what the impact might be here through the proximity of those roller coasters for the elephants.
Because of these concerns, Dr. Schmidt-Burbach advises that Six Flags relocate Joyce one last time.
I would really hope that Six Flags would consider a different alternative for Joyce, where she could actually spend a life worth living in one of the 3 elephant sanctuaries in the US.
One of these sanctuaries is Elephant Refuge North America, located in Attapulgis, Georgia. In this sanctuary, elephants have the unique opportunity to engage in their natural behaviours, all within the sanctuary's 850 acres. For size comparison, the elephant enclosure in Six Flags Wild Safari Park is roughly 230 times smaller than the elephant sanctuary in Georgia. With a landscape that closely resembles their African homeland, these elephants can roam freely throughout their entire day without the constant rumblings of roller coasters and trucks nearby. And for those curious to witness elephants enjoying this serene environment, live streaming video cameras are installed throughout the sanctuary, offering a window into the world of natural elephant behaviour. These elephants, unlike Joyce, are free to do as they please. They have the freedom to explore and choose their activities, companions and resting places, much like they would do in the wild. And with individualized care and veterinary support, these elephants can enjoy their remaining years in a safe and stable home. But until Joyce has moved into a sanctuary, her spirit remains as confined as her enclosure at Six Flags Wild Safari Park. Joyce, much like all elephants in captivity, deserves this very last chance of freedom.